said to him, "Here, Ronald, here's $1,000. Go and have yourself a good Christmas and a Happy New Year, and come and see me after the seasons." And so after Christmas and New Year's went by, he came to see me, and he was interested in getting involved in dealing drugs. And so him and I found ourselves on the way to Denver, Colorado, and to take a kilo of cocaine to Colorado. And as we were approaching the Rocky Mountains, I said to Ronald, "Wow, Ronald, look at God's beautiful creation," as I looked out the window. And to my surprise, Ronald said, "Don't talk to me about God." And I said, "Wow, Ronald, all I said was, look at God's beautiful creation." And he said, "Don't tell me anything about God. I don't want to hear about God." And he says, "Look at me, David." He said, "Take a good look at me." He said, "I'm strong. I'm bad. I'm strong. So I don't need God. Don't tell me anything about God." I'm ashamed to say that I got him involved in starting dealing drugs, and I started off at the bottom of the ladder and started climbing the ladder very fast and became successful in dealing drugs. They operated on him. They cut his body from the front all the way up from the back, cutting away at his body to cut out the infection of this cancer. And they left him just a different person when he came out of that hospital. He was very, very thin, very, very skinny. They did not tell Ronald the truth that the cancer had already reached his liver, and they were sending him home to die. And so we went to Ronald's house, and we went into his bedroom, and he was laying there on his bed covered with a blanket, and invited him to go fishing with us. And he said, "Oh, David, how could you do that to me? You know how much I love to go fishing." And I said, "Well, Ronald, get up out of that bed and let's go fishing, Ronald." And at that time, he threw the blankets off of his body. And he said, "David, I want to go fishing with you, but look at me. Look at me, David." And his body was nothing but skin and bones. I mean, a skeleton more than the last time I had seen him. He was nothing but a skeleton, nothing but skin sticking to the bones. And he said, "Look at me, David, I'm paralyzed. I can't even get out of the bed. I can't even move my feet, my legs. My wife and my mother have to feed me like a baby. They have hid my knife and my gun and even my bow and arrow, so I won't take my life, so I won't kill myself." He said, "Take a good look at me, David. I'm nothing but skin and bones." And at that time, I remembered what I shared earlier. And I remembered Ronald flickering his arms and telling me, "Look at me, David. Look, I'm strong. I'm bad, so I don't need God." And I remembered that moment. And now he's telling me, "Look at me, David. I'm nothing but skin and bones." And he was crying and weeping with tears in his eyes. He said, "Look at me, David." And he said, "David, you're the one, David." And he pointed his finger at me. He said, "You're the one that led me to the Lord Jesus Christ years ago, David." And he said, "David, every day give thanks to Jesus for your health." He said, "David, every day give thanks to Jesus for everything." He said, "You're the one, David. You've got to go back and tell our friends about Jesus." And at that time, this friend of mine, one of the friends that was there with us, who was an ex-Marine, been in Vietnam, served in Vietnam, had several confirmations of killing confirmations. He walked out of the room. He said, let's go. Let's get out of here, David. Let's go, guys. Pulling his neck. He said, let's get out of here. It's getting hot in here. Let's get out of here. The moment we walked out of the room, he said, I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you guys, but I felt something in that room. And he was crying. My friend was crying and weeping, and all of us were crying and weeping as we walked out of that room. He said, I don't know about you guys, but I felt something in that room. And I said, I know exactly what you're talking about. I felt it too. I know that it was the Spirit of God. He says, yeah, David, it was God in that room. I felt it. We all felt it. And we left and took off. And we went on our fishing trip. But right there at that moment, John, I knew that Jesus was speaking to me, that God was speaking to me. He was telling me I had to be the one to go back and tell people about Jesus, and tell our friends about Jesus. I cannot help but be emotional for what Jesus has done for me. In 1979, I made a big mistake. I killed a man in a traffic dispute. Going into that courtroom, I was told that I could get anywhere from 5 to 99 years, and I would most likely get the maximum, which the prosecuting attorney was fighting to get. I believe God spared me from going to prison, because I'd probably be in prison right now. And God spared me from going to prison to preach His word and to reach others who are going through difficulties and problems that nobody else relates to. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that He spared me when I should have gone to prison. I've had the opportunity to lead others to the Lord that I have visited in jail. And one is known as a kingpin drug dealer, major drug dealer, whom has been convicted and sentenced to prison recently. And it was an honor to have the opportunity to lead him to the Lord as well as others. God is so good that there are things that I don't understand. And one of the things that I don't understand today is why He loved me so much and has forgiven me for what I have done. All the money in the world cannot bring the joy and the peace that Jesus brings. All the drugs in the world cannot bring the joy and the peace that Jesus gives.